Hi folks, it's Double Krown, and today I'm going to be talking about hoax codes. Now there's a guy on YouTube, you might have heard of him, he's called Jurassic Liars, and he is revealing hoax codes, but I've no idea if they're genuine or not. For example, he talks about the ham, the lamb, the ram, etc. And he's got a whole load of other hoax codes as well. So you might want to check that out. But I've got no idea if it's genuine or not. For example, if a story contains the name Hamilton, because it's got ham in it for Hamilton, you might say that story was a hoax. But you might look for other hoax codes as well in it. And if it's got a bunch of hoax code, you kind of know 100% that story is a hoax. Whether that's true or not, it sounds plausible. It sounds absolutely plausible. So that's why I'm sort of covering it in this video here. So that's one example, Hamilton there. We've got Callum. The name Callum contains lamb, of course. Martin has got ram in it backwards. So those would be examples of coded names that might be used in these hoax stories. Another one is actually CIA, and he covers this as well. Jurassic Liars covers this as well. For example, the name Kieran has got CIA in it, or Garcia. That has got CIA in it, and these names might occur or crop up again and again in these hoax stories. So is there anything to this? Is there any truth? I suspect he's given us some partial truth there, but not revealing, because this guy, Jurassic Lies, he's a flat earther. And he's got some peculiar ideas like there's no space. So he is, I believe, a shill, but nevertheless he's giving us some partial truth here. So I'm going to cover that in this video. Okay, so let's begin with Elvis Aaron Presley. Now the reason I'm talking about Elvis is because Spudgy Pang mentioned that the word Elvis is an anagram of evils, which I'd never really thought about before actually, but yes, it's quite right. It is an anagram of the word evils. So where does that name Elvis come from? Well, Elvis seems to be a name that's been passed on. For example, his father was also called Elvis, Vernon Elvis Presley. So it seems to be a family thing. And I was just researching Elvis, and I discovered some stuff on the internet, and this is one of the paragraphs. I've just sort of copied it and pasted it into this slide here. Right, some interesting details about Elvis, who was most likely a programmed multiple slave, along with Marilyn Monroe, Barbara Streisand and many other major stars. He was used for the transmitting of coded messages in songs and for other things like leading people to false ideas and movements. Elvis was a theosophist, I don't know, a Luciferian, and had many obvious signs of being an occultist. There is a link between Elvis and Audrey Hepburn, no relation to Katharine Hepburn, by the way, in that they were probably both programmed multiples and involved in the occult. So this is just something I picked up on the internet. I don't know if it's true again, but this is what I'm reading about Elvis, that he was possibly a programmed individual, that he's just being used by the elite, and he's being used and he's being allowed to be used, obviously, because maybe he comes from an elite family, and obviously his name is Elvis, an anagram of evils, and that may be embedded in their family because they might be an elitist family, they might be one of these families that is involved in secret societies, etc. So that's why I was talking about Elvis there. Let's move on. Okay, that's got me thinking, because we've just talked about Elvis, of course, and it's got me thinking, because that word evil, what can you do with that word evil? Well, let's just have a look here, shall we? So I've just written that word down, evil, and then you can add letters to the front of it, like bevel, or breville, or seville, or kevil, or neville, yeah? And then if I was to then go on and perhaps change one or two letters, or perhaps change the consonants, for example, evil, we could end up with the names Enid by changing the consonants there, or Erin. And of course we've had a famous author, Enid Blyton, who went by the name Enid. We've got Eric there, potentially, Eric. We've had a few famous Erics. Also the name Evelyn, possibly. Is that possibly derived from the word evil? I don't know. But I'm just I'm sticking my neck out a bit here. I could be wrong. Leave your comments down below. And also Evelyn then goes on to you know, you can have the derivation there, Evie, or possibly even Ivy. Right, the next one, bevel. So I've just added a B on the front, and if we change one of the letters, if we change the V to an R, we end up with the name Beryl. And I've given you the correct spelling there of Beryl with a Y instead of an I. But also bevel, what about bevel E, Beverly, Beverly, yeah? And again, I've given you the correct spelling of Beverly there. But also you can make brands out of this. So I've just put BR on the front of evil, and you end up with a brand there, Breville, the Breville juicer. You might have heard of that, the Breville. They make domestic appliances. The next one there, I've got Seville, and that could transpose, mutate into the word Cyril, into the name Cyril. What about Kevil? That could morph into the name Kevin. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody called Kevin, or everybody called Cyril, or everybody called Beryl is a member of a secret society. No, 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 no. What I'm suggesting here is that these names are now so embedded in society, they're so embedded in our culture, that you might choose to give your child the name Kevin, or Beryl, or whatever. You choose to give your child that name without even knowing where this name is derived from. And what I'm saying is the origins of these names, the derivation of this might come from a secret society. And the last one there on the end, Neville, again, very common name, very popular, in use today. And does anyone remember Evel Knievel? Of course, that's just a stage name. That's not his real name. You can go and check his real name for yourselves on Google, on Wikipedia, on wherever. Evel Knievel was a famous stunt motorcyclist, a motorbike rider, performing various stunts, jumping over cars, etc. But that name there, purely a stage name that he used for effect. But it makes you think, it makes you wonder. Okay, coded names continued. So if we take the word evil and turn it backwards, we end up with the word live or live. And again, if we run through the alphabet, we can derive some new names, and one of them is Clive, and another one is Olive, and of course you've got the female name Olive, and then you've got the male version, or Oliver. So anyway, let's take a look at that first name there, Clive, which has the word evil backwards in it. So all we've done is just attach one letter C to that anagram of evil. And we've got a couple of famous people there. We've got Clive Anderson and Clive James, who both became famous at around about the same time. Clive Anderson was a British presenter, and Clive James is an Australian presenter. Now, the origin of the name Clive, I've looked this up on the internet, I've Googled it. It says it's derived from the Old English cliff. For example, cliff, slope, bank of a river. Clive was probably first used for someone who lived near one of these places, or for someone who lived near a cliff or a river bank. Now, do you really believe that? Do you think you would call somebody Cliff just because they live by a riverbank? And then, of course, Cliff has changed, morphed into Clive. Now, I don't believe that. Clive sounds to me like it could be a name again that's been derived from one of these secret societies. Now, it's interesting because let's take a look at this character, Clive Anderson. Clive Anderson, again, as I say, a very famous presenter in the UK. Now, if you look at his background, he was educated at Harrow County School for Boys, which is one of the most prestigious schools in the country. And his friends included Michael Portillo, Jeffrey Perkins, Michael Portillo, famous politician. Yeah. Now, his father was manager of Bradford and Bingley's, and he has also attended the University of Cambridge. He then went on to become a practicing barrister and then moved on to presenting. He was president of the Footlights at Cambridge. So he's been to one of the best schools, he's been to one of the best universities, he's been a barrister and he's been a presenter, this guy Clive Anderson. Yeah, clearly you don't get into those kind of schools, that kind of university, unless you are one of the elite, one of the privileged, possibly one of the people in a secret society, or having ancestors who are part of a secret society. But that's the name Clive. But what about the other part, Anderson? Anderson is interesting as well, because that contains the hoax code Sun that Jurassic Liars keeps talking about. But not only that, it's got the word red in it, red backwards, and it's also got DNA. So red DNA Sun. So that sounds like one of these names that is coming from one of the secret societies. Okay, some more coded names for you. So again, if we just create some anagrams of evil, let's take Elvi, for example. We end up with the names Elvin, Elvira, or Alvin. If you just change the E to an A, you get Alvin. Do you remember Alvin Stardust? Now you can do some research on this guy, Alvin Stardust, but also we have Kelvin, who was a famous scientist, and of course you've got the Celsius thermometer scale, and we've got Kelvin as well. Again, if we rearrange the letters, we get Eliv. If we change the V to an S, we can end up with the name Elise. We also have the names Levi, and again, if we change the V to an X, we can end up with the name Lexi. What if we were to put the E and the I together in evil? If we put the E and an I together, we could end up with the name Keith by changing the consonants. Yeah? What if we take the word devil now and we just change the V to an N and a Z? We end up with Denzel, as in Denzel Washington, the famous actor, of course. And of course devil as well, changing the consonants in the word evil there, again we end up with Devon, which is another name, also a county in England. But that's the word evil. Now what if we move on to some different words? Here, let's take a look at the word bad. Now, again, just change a letter or two or add a letter or two, and bad soon turns into the word Brad, as in Brad Pitt. Yeah? Bad, change the B to a CH and you end up with Chad. Yeah? What if we take the word odd? Any kind of negative word, we can alter it, change it, maybe add a letter. Odd turns into Todd. Again, one of these new names. So Brad, Chad, Todd, these are kind of new names. You often find them in America and Australia. These new names that just spring up, possibly being created by the secret societies. Let's take another word. Take the word overt. Overt. Now, again, change that V to a B and add a letter to the front, and you end up with the name Robert. Robert, derived from the word overt. Now, overt means to do things openly. Of course, it's an inversion because the secret societies actually do things covertly. Yeah? But they've used the word overt and possibly created the name Robert. But also, if you put overt, spell it backwards, you end up with the name Trevor. Trevor. And Trevor, again, if we change a letter, we can then turn this into a brand. Yeah? Or we can turn Robert into a brand by putting it backwards. We end up with a brand called Treball. Treball Mints. Now, what if we were to take the word sad and add an E to the end of it? We end up with Sadie or Sade, however you'd like to call it. Again, I've done the same thing with lonely. Lonely can be rearranged to the name Lionel. So Lionel, again, possibly a secret society derived name. Beyonce, again, possibly a secret society name because that is very close to seance. Yeah, Beyonce, seance. Yeah, look at the spelling there. Almost exactly the same. Yeah, we've just added a B. We've just changed the S to a B. What if we take the word Satan? Now, again, we can create a brand with that name, Satan, and that creates a bank, Santander. Now, look at the word Santander. It's got red in it, backwards. It's got DNA in it, backwards. And it's got an anagram of Satan in it. Yeah? Santander. Red DNA, Satan. And where have we seen red DNA? We saw it in the name Clive Anderson. Yeah, red DNA. So these hoax codes, these coded names possibly coming from secret societies. I don't know if I'm just making this up, if I'm just pulling this out of my arse. But leave your comments down below. If you like the video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you've got any thoughts, opinions, ideas on this, love to hear your comments on it. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye for now.